Friends, thank you for being here today. What if I told you that while the world has been watching Donald Trump's public battles with China and his aggressive posturing toward Mexico, he has quietly been executing a diplomatic masterstroke that could reshape the entire global economy by leveraging America's relationship with Canada in ways that few people understand? And ask yourself this: in an era where traditional alliances are fracturing and economic nationalism is rising, how has a leader known for his confrontational style discovered that his greatest strategic asset might not be military might or economic intimidation, but rather the cultivation of the world's most resource-rich democracy sitting quietly on his northern border? We are witnessing something unprecedented in modern geopolitics. As we move through January 2026, the conventional narrative suggests that Trump's second term has been defined by chaos, tariffs, and international confrontation. The media focuses on his threats toward Greenland, his disputes with European allies, and his ongoing tensions with China. But this surface-level analysis misses the most significant strategic development of our time. Behind the noise of public diplomacy, Trump has been quietly building what insiders are calling the North American Fortress, a comprehensive economic and security partnership with Canada that could generate over $847 billion in new bilateral trade and fundamentally alter the balance of global power. This is not about the traditional Canada-US relationship that we have known for decades. This is about a calculated recognition that in a multipolar world dominated by great power competition, the United States cannot afford to treat Canada as a junior partner or a mere resource supplier. Instead, Trump appears to have realized something that previous administrations missed. Canada is not just America's northern neighbor. It is the geographic and economic anchor that could secure American dominance for the next century. To understand the scope of this strategic pivot, we must look beyond the daily headlines and examine the quiet negotiations, the regulatory changes, and the investment patterns that are reshaping continental integration. This is not a story about political theater or campaign promises. This is a story about how a nation facing strategic competition from China and Russia has discovered that its greatest advantage lies not in distant military interventions, but in maximizing the potential of its own backyard. The catalyst for this remarkable shift began in what might seem like an unlikely place: the Pentagon's assessment of critical mineral security conducted in late 2025. Defense Department analysts presented Trump with a sobering reality. China controls between 70% and 90% of the global supply chains for the rare earth elements that power everything from military guidance systems to electric vehicle batteries. More troubling, American companies are entirely dependent on Chinese processing facilities for lithium, cobalt, and graphite, the essential ingredients of the green energy transition. But the same Pentagon report contained a revelation that appears to have fundamentally changed Trump's strategic thinking. Canada possesses some of the largest untapped reserves of these critical minerals anywhere on Earth. The Canadian Shield, that ancient geological formation spanning from Labrador to the Northwest Territories, contains an estimated $2.4 trillion worth of lithium, nickel, cobalt, and rare earth elements. More importantly, these resources sit in a stable democracy with established mining expertise and existing transportation infrastructure. The breakthrough came when Trump's advisors presented him with a simple calculation. Instead of engaging in a trade war with China over critical minerals, the United States could secure its supply chains by partnering with Canada to develop the largest integrated mining operation in the Western Hemisphere. The potential was staggering. A fully developed Canada-US critical minerals partnership could generate $347 billion in annual trade, while making both countries independent of Chinese supply chains. This was the moment when Trump's approach to Canada shifted from transactional bargaining to strategic partnership. Rather than viewing Canadian resources as assets to be extracted cheaply, the new thinking recognized that a prosperous Canada was in America's vital interest. The first concrete sign of this shift came with the North American Resource Security Initiative, a joint program that commits $180 billion in American investment to Canadian mining and energy projects over the next decade. Unlike previous investments, this initiative includes technology transfer agreements and integrated supply chains designed to make both countries leaders in clean energy. But the mineral partnership was just the beginning. Trump's team had identified a second opportunity that few understand. Canada's hydroelectric capacity represents the largest source of clean electricity in North America. As the United States races to build AI data centers and electric infrastructure, the demand for electricity is exploding. Current projections suggest American electricity consumption will increase by 34% over 5 years, driven by AI data centers and electric vehicles. Traditional power sources cannot meet this demand cleanly. Natural gas plants take years to build. Solar and wind are intermittent. Nuclear facilities face regulatory delays. Canadian hydroelectricity offers an immediate, massive solution. Quebec generates over 200 terawatt hours of surplus electricity annually. Manitoba's Nelson River system could provide another 50 terawatt-hours. British Columbia's projects could supply 80 terawatt-hours. The strategic value became clear when Trump's advisors calculated the impact. Reliable, cheap Canadian electricity could reduce American manufacturing costs by 12% to 18%, making U.S. factories competitive with China. More importantly, it could power an AI boom that cements American leadership in future industries. This led to the Continental Power Grid Integration project. This $89 billion infrastructure program will create transmission lines connecting Canadian hydroelectric facilities to American industrial centers. The scale is unprecedented. New power lines will carry Canadian electricity to Chicago, Detroit, New York, and Boston. By 2030, Canadian electricity could represent 28% of power consumption in the American Northeast and Midwest. Trump's Canada strategy recognizes that climate change makes Canada's geography increasingly valuable. While southern states face hurricanes and droughts, Canada's climate provides advantages for agriculture and manufacturing. Corporate investment patterns show this shift. Over 18 months, American companies announced $67 billion in new Canadian facilities, drawn by reliable electricity and stable conditions. Tesla is building its largest battery facility outside the U.S. in Quebec. Amazon committed to 3 data centers in Manitoba. This corporate migration reflects understanding that climate resilience is critical for industrial competitiveness. Canadian facilities operate year-round without the disruptions affecting climate-vulnerable regions. Trump's recognition led to the Climate Resilience Manufacturing Incentive Program. This provides tax credits for American companies establishing operations in Canada while maintaining U.S. control of intellectual property and strategic decisions. The genius is that this allows American companies to benefit from Canadian advantages while maintaining competitive position against Chinese manufacturers. A semiconductor facility in Toronto operates more efficiently than one in Arizona while serving American interests. The most sensitive aspect involves defense cooperation. Modern warfare occurs in the Arctic, cyberspace, and through economic disruption, rather than traditional military engagement. Canada's geography makes it indispensable for American defense in all 3 domains. In the Arctic, Canada controls the Northwest Passage and strategic islands. Rather than challenging Canadian sovereignty, Trump embraced partnership that recognizes Canadian claims while integrating Arctic defense under American leadership. The Arctic Cooperation Framework commits the United States to $127 billion in Arctic infrastructure investment over 8 years. This includes ports, radar systems, and icebreakers operated jointly by Canadian and American forces. In cyberspace, Canadian geography offers advantages for secure communications. The planned Arctic fiber optic cables will route through Canadian territory, giving both countries control over critical internet infrastructure. Canadian data centers provide secure storage for sensitive American information. The economic implications are staggering. Conservative estimates suggest full implementation could generate $847 billion in new bilateral trade by 2032. This includes $347 billion in minerals and energy, $298 billion in manufacturing, and $202 billion in agricultural products. More importantly, this partnership could shift global economic dynamics. A fully integrated North American economy would represent the largest economic bloc in world history. With combined GDP exceeding $28 trillion, this partnership would dwarf China's economy and provide foundation for sustained American leadership. The strategic timing is crucial. China faces economic challenges, including demographic crisis and real estate collapse. European economies struggle with energy security. Russia remains isolated and constrained. In this context, a revitalized North American partnership offers the United States renewed dominance without military confrontation. Instead, it leverages natural advantages to create an economic powerhouse that nations will want to join rather than oppose. The political genius lies in addressing concerns of both American and Canadian constituencies. For Americans worried about job losses to China, the partnership promises to bring manufacturing back with lower costs and reliability. For Canadians concerned about American dominance, it offers genuine partnership rather than resource extraction. I want to pause here and ask you a question that goes to the heart of this analysis. Do you believe that most Americans understand how much their economic future depends on Canadian resources and cooperation? And do you think this partnership approach is more likely to succeed than the confrontational tactics we have seen with other trading partners? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Implementation is already visible in regulatory changes that received little media attention. The United States has quietly removed tariffs on dozens of Canadian products while maintaining them on Chinese goods. The Department of Energy fast-tracked Canadian hydroelectric projects while creating barriers for Chinese renewable imports. Most significantly, the Pentagon redesignated Canada as a domestic source for defense procurement, meaning Canadian companies can bid on American military contracts without foreign supplier restrictions. This could generate $45 billion in new defense trade over 5 years. Financial markets have begun pricing in this partnership's potential. Canadian resource companies increased valuations by 34% over 6 months. American industrial companies with Canadian operations outperformed broader markets. Cross-border investment flows reached record levels. The most telling indicator is competitor reactions. Chinese state media criticizes the partnership as an economic bloc excluding other nations. European officials express concerns about being left out of North American supply chains. These reactions suggest other powers recognize the strategic threat of integrated North American economy. Implementation challenges are significant, but not insurmountable. Environmental groups have concerns about development pace. Some Canadian politicians worry about too much integration. American labor unions want job guarantees. Trump's team anticipated these challenges. Environmental standards will meet current regulations in both countries. Labor provisions require American worker training in Canadian facilities. Revenue sharing ensures both countries benefit proportionally from joint ventures. The timeline extends to 2032, but early results are visible. Cross-border electricity trade increased 23% over the past year. American investment in Canadian mining tripled. Joint research facilities produce breakthrough technologies in battery storage and advanced materials. Most significantly, the partnership creates a demonstration effect attracting other nations. Mexico has expressed strong interest in joining certain aspects of cooperation. The United Kingdom is negotiating access to North American supply chains. Even traditionally neutral countries like Switzerland explore partnerships with the North American economic bloc. This expansion reveals the broader strategic logic of Trump's Canada card. By creating a highly successful model of economic integration based on mutual benefit and shared values, the United States can build a coalition of democratic market economies that provides alternative to Chinese state capitalism. The contrast with previous American approaches to international partnerships is striking. Rather than demanding that allies subordinate their interests to American preferences, this strategy recognizes that American leadership is most effective when it enables partner success. A prosperous, secure Canada strengthens American power projection rather than threatening it. The energy dimension of this partnership deserves particular attention because it addresses one of the most critical challenges facing American industrial competitiveness. Chinese manufacturers benefit from subsidized electricity, lax environmental regulations, and government support that allows them to undercut American producers. The Canada Partnership offers a way to compete on cost while maintaining environmental and labor standards. Canadian hydroelectricity costs approximately 3.2 cents per kilowatt hour compared to an average of 8.7 cents for electricity in American industrial centers. A manufacturing facility powered by Canadian electricity can reduce its operating costs by 15% to 25% while using completely renewable energy. This cost advantage, combined with proximity to American markets and supply chains, makes North American manufacturing competitive with Asian production for the first time in decades. The agricultural implications are equally significant. Climate change is making traditional American agricultural regions less predictable, while Canadian prairie provinces are experiencing longer growing seasons and more stable weather patterns. The partnership framework includes provisions for integrated agricultural planning, shared research, and coordinated food security strategies. This agricultural cooperation addresses a strategic vulnerability that few American policymakers have acknowledged. The United States imports approximately $15 billion worth of food annually, much of it from regions with unstable governments or vulnerable supply chains. Canadian agriculture, backed by abundant fresh water and stable institutions, provides a secure source of food imports that strengthens rather than threatens American food security. The technology transfer aspects of the partnership are perhaps the most forward-looking elements of Trump's strategy. Rather than simply extracting Canadian resources, the framework establishes joint research facilities, shared patent systems, and integrated innovation networks. Canadian universities will collaborate with American companies on breakthrough technologies. American investors will fund Canadian startups with global market potential. This approach recognizes that technological leadership in the 21st century requires access to global talent and resources. By partnering with Canadian institutions rather than competing against them, American companies gain access to world-class research capabilities while ensuring that the resulting innovations serve American strategic interests. If you are finding this analysis of America's strategic pivot toward Canada valuable, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us continue to bring you in-depth analysis of the geopolitical and economic forces that are reshaping our world. The defense implications of this partnership extend far beyond traditional military cooperation. Modern conflicts increasingly involve economic warfare, cyber attacks, and competition for control of critical supply chains. The Canada Partnership positions the United States to dominate all three battlefields. Economic warfare depends on the ability to control access to essential resources. The integrated North American economy would control the largest reserves of fresh water, critical minerals, and renewable energy in the democratic world. Any nation attempting to wage economic warfare against the United States would face the prospect of being cut off from resources that cannot be easily replaced. Cyber warfare requires secure communications networks and resilient data infrastructure. The Arctic fiber optic cables and Canadian data centers provide physical security that cannot be easily compromised by hostile actors. More importantly, they ensure that critical American communications do not depend on infrastructure controlled by potential adversaries. Supply chain competition has become a central element of great power rivalry. The integrated North American supply chains for critical minerals, energy, and advanced manufacturing provide security and resilience that purely domestic production cannot match. More importantly, they offer other nations an alternative to Chinese supply chains without requiring complete dependence on American production. The timing of Trump as Canada strategy reflects a broader shift in global economic dynamics that few analysts have fully recognized. The era of globalization based on lowest cost production is ending, replaced by an era of regionalization based on supply chain security and shared values. Nations are increasingly prioritizing trade with partners they trust over partners that offer the lowest prices. This shift creates enormous opportunities for democratic market economies that can offer reliable, high-quality alternatives to authoritarian suppliers. The North American Partnership positions the United States and Canada to become the preferred suppliers for nations that want to reduce their dependence on Chinese production without sacrificing economic efficiency. The success of this strategy depends on implementation that maintains public support in both countries while delivering concrete economic benefits. Early indicators are positive. Manufacturing employment in both countries has increased. Energy costs for American consumers have stabilized. Canadian resource companies are generating record profits that support government budgets and social programs. The key to sustaining this progress lies in ensuring that the benefits of partnership are broadly shared, rather than concentrated among a small group of corporations and investors. The framework includes provisions for worker retraining, community development, and environmental protection that address the concerns of constituencies that have been skeptical of previous trade agreements. Most importantly, the partnership is designed to be flexible and evolutionary rather than rigid and permanent. Regular review processes allow both countries to adjust the terms of cooperation based on changing circumstances and new opportunities. This adaptability ensures that the partnership can survive political changes and economic cycles that might otherwise threaten its continuity. The global implications of a successful North American partnership extend far beyond bilateral trade statistics. It demonstrates that democratic market economies can compete effectively with authoritarian state capitalism when they combine their natural advantages rather than competing against each other. This demonstration effect is already influencing policy discussions in other democratic nations. European leaders are exploring similar partnerships within the European Union. Asian democracies are considering closer integration with each other and with North America. The result could be a network of democratic economic partnerships that provides a sustainable alternative to Chinese-led globalization. The environmental benefits of the partnership deserve particular emphasis because they address one of the most serious challenges facing human civilization. The transition to clean energy requires massive investments in renewable generation, storage technology, and transmission infrastructure. The North American Partnership provides a model for how this transition can create economic opportunities rather than simply imposing costs. Canadian hydroelectricity and American innovation, combined with integrated planning and shared investment, can accelerate the development of clean energy technologies while creating high-paying jobs in both countries. The partnership also demonstrates how environmental protection and economic growth can be mutually reinforcing rather than conflicting objectives. As we look toward the future, the potential for this partnership to reshape global economics and geopolitics appears substantial. The combination of American capital, Canadian resources, and shared democratic institutions creates a foundation for sustained prosperity and international leadership that does not require military dominance or economic coercion. The ultimate test of Trump's Canada card will be whether it can deliver the promised benefits while maintaining the political support necessary for long-term success. Early indicators suggest that the strategy addresses real needs and leverages genuine advantages rather than relying on political rhetoric or short-term manipulation. The $847 billion potential of this partnership represents more than just trade statistics. It represents a recognition that America's greatest strategic asset may not be its military power or financial dominance, but its ability to build mutually beneficial partnerships with nations that share its values and complement its capabilities. In an era of great power competition and global uncertainty, the quiet partnership between the United States and Canada may prove to be the masterstroke that secures democratic prosperity for generations to come. The Canada card, played skillfully and with genuine respect for mutual interests, could be the key to American strategic success in the 21st century. Thank you.